key. In South Korea today, Secretary of State Rex Tillerson is making some big news. He's basically expanding the scope of the Trump administration's foreign policy toward North Korea, suggesting military action is on the table if North Korea keeps developing its nuclear weapons program.
Let me be very clear. The policy of strategic patience has ended. We're exploring a new range of diplomatic, security, and economic measures. All options are on the table.
NBC's Hans Nichols is at the Pentagon for us. Hans, put this into context and perspective for us. What does this kind of change mean when it comes to U.S. policy toward North Korea?
Well, the context namely matters is he's about to head to China, Secretary of State Rex Tillerson, where he may be asking for more help isolating North Korea on the diplomatic front. But, Hallie, I think the most important thing of what we just heard from Secretary of State Tillerson there wasn't so much that all options are on the table, because that's almost boilerplate. It's what he said beforehand, and that is that the policy of strategic patience is ending. When you twin those two statements together, that means that you have a potentially twitchy finger on both sides. Remember, Donald Trump also tweeting out this morning that North Korea is behaving very badly, blaming the Chinese. And you know, Hallie, I just checked in with some officials here at the Pentagon. They expect more launches, more missile tests in the next 30 days. There are a couple of dates we should keep marked on our calendar. On April 13th, it's the birthday of the grandfather of Kim Jong-un, the founder of North Korea. And then a couple days later, they have their big 85th anniversary party celebration there. Around those dates, you can potentially expect North Korea to do something like launch and test some sort of missile. Hallie?
And Hans, all of this obviously is happening while the Secretary of State, as we were showing, is overseas on this trip. There's a little bit of reporting from South Korean media flying around that he might have potentially skipped a dinner due to fatigue, but this could just be South Korea playing politics, right?
Well, yeah, there are two sides of the story. Tillerson did give more time to the Japanese. He had longer dinners with them. And what Korean press are reporting is that the shorter dinners in Korea, this is South Korea, that those shorter dinners were due to fatigue on the Secretary of State's behalf. You can't blame him, though, Hallie. It's a long ways away, and he took the wrong plane. Had he taken the bigger plane, he could have slept up front in the nose. Very difficult to sleep on a G5 when you're working, but you have your own cabin on a 757, you go up, you put your PJs on. It's easier to sleep. So maybe he'll take the 757 and bring the press along the next time.
I was just going to say, Hans, and let's be honest, if you're taking the bigger plane, maybe more room for the media, who is in a bit of a difficult position here trying to report on some of this, given that the State Department has only taken one reporter who is not in a pool situation, meaning providing reports to the rest of the media who cannot be on that plane. Hans?
Well, Hallie, this is a good example of why, you know, on the press side of things, the U.S. side is always pressing for access, because if a story gets out that may not be accurate or may be more spun to the host country or wherever the dignitary is visiting, there isn't the own U.S. press corps to either correct the record or, frankly, get the other side out. So, you know, maybe this will cause them to rethink, the Secretary and his high command, rethink their policy of not bringing a full complement of reporters, who we should note have a difficult time sleeping on those planes as well, because you don't really have the live flatbed. I know you never go to Asia without being on a live flatbed in the front of the plane.
I think maybe you need a nap. Thank you very much, Hans Nichols of the Pentagon. Really appreciate it. We want to get back to this policy issue with North Korea, and I'm joined now by Washington Post diplomatic correspondent Ann Gearan. Susan and Margaret are sticking around with us as well. And let me get your take on this, right? Out of strategic patience, all options on the table. Was this escalation inevitable?
Well, certainly it has seemed inevitable for the Trump administration for the last couple months, really. I mean, the administration had not been very specific until this Tillerson trip about walking away from the really utter failure of the diplomatic and political efforts over the last 15 to 20 years to try to basically talk North Korea out of either starting a nuclear weapons program. That failed, continuing with the nuclear weapons program. That failed as well, and now trying to talk it out of being able to launch an intercontinental ballistic missile, which is now the red line that the United States has drawn. What Tillerson was saying today is talking hasn't worked at any stage along the way, and now we have to be very specific about the fact that we would use military force if necessary. That opens a huge range of questions about what military force means in this instance. Would it be U.S. preemptive action to try to take out North Korean facilities? Would it be something that would happen only in the event of a launch? That part we don't know.
So, Anne, quickly, before I let you go, how is Prime Minister Abe in Japan viewing this? How is he viewing the Secretary of State's statements and sort of the potential for where this might go?
Well, I mean, Abe and the South Koreans are those closest to any potential North Korean launch. They are looking for the U.S. to underline its commitment to defend those two countries militarily through atomic weapons if necessary, and that's what Tillerson's doing in both countries.
Anne Guerin joining us, Washington Post diplomatic correspondent. Anne, thank you very much. We want to take you now over to the White House. The president, for the last little bit here, has been meeting with members of the Republican Study Committee, a handful of them coming into the West Wing, as he is talking not just about Veterans Affairs, for example, but about health care and the importance of getting this bill passed, the bill that